It's the Diamond K Show.
So much going on in the world. You talk about things from the perspective of how it is. DJ Diamond K, sometimes it comes off like you are almost not in support of, but you just accept the way things are and there's no chance of change. Check me out on YouTube. That's the part that I am just like, ah.
On firetv.com.
All right, welcome back. You made Diamond K in here, of course, diamondkshow.com, onfire-tv.com, radioonfire.com, and the WRF radio app. A lot of things that we got to talk about today. We're going to do things a little bit out of order from how I normally do it. We're going to bring our guest in at the top of the show. And I thought that, especially since we're going to be talking about another violent weekend in Baltimore, I thought that it would be very, very timely to bring someone on that could talk about life insurance and practical things like that. Something that we don't often talk about during the show. But we have Angela Roberts. How you doing?
Hey, Diamond. I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. So you're going to talk with us about something that, as we talked about off camera, a lot of people don't want to talk about. A lot of people don't like to talk about. And quite honestly, it's not something that I'm super comfortable talking about all the time either. It's not like, we're talking about the Ravens or something. Like this is, this is a serious matter. Because we're talking about a time when we are not here, right? We're talking about a time
Correct.
we're no longer here. But I guess first introduce yourself and all that good stuff.
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. I'm super grateful for this opportunity, and I really appreciate you. My name is Angela Roberts. I am born and raised from Baltimore, Maryland. Quick about me, I was in the medical industry up until the end of December, decided to leave that and get into life insurance. Why do you ask? I'll get into that in this next half hour. But life insurance is very important to me. I work with, I'm affiliated with an amazing company called Family First Life, and they have allowed me to be an independent broker with them. I am contracted with almost every A-plus company out there, so I can go and look for several different policies to fit people's needs. So that makes it easy for me to be like your one-stop stop. So it's something I'm very passionate about because I'm able to give back to the community and educate the community on something they don't educate us with. I mean, think about it. You are required to get not life insurance, health insurance. In order to drive a car, you have to have car insurance, but they never require you to get life insurance. Why is that?
I'm sure it's a reason. I'm sure it's a reason. I mean, so when you talk about life insurance, of course, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. But
yeah,
we do a lot of stories where someone has passed away and they may have a GoFundMe page or there's some type of a collection that is happening with regards to the the service or something like that. Why does that happen? I'm asking like you're the GoFundMe. I mean, why does something like that happen? How does that happen?
So you think about it like this. Everybody plans for life. You plan for birth. You're excited about it. You make sure you're prepared, as prepared as you can be to bring a child into this world. But you never think about death. Nobody wants to think about death. Nobody wants to think about dying, but it's the inevitable. It's a part of life. And a lot of times people get the misconception you shouldn't think about life insurance until you're going to die, is when you're older. But the fact is you can die at any time. And they get these GoFundMes, which it just bothers me when I see it, because the big thing is you got to wait for somebody to donate. And that body isn't going to wait. So you still got to put money out because you still have to embalm them. They can't just sit around and decay. And then you got to wait for like people to fund into GoFundMe, and GoFundMe. I'm gonna give you some background on GoFundMe.
Okay.
No disrespect for them. It's great. You know, you can sit there, you can get donations, but GoFundMe charges you 2.9% of every donation that went in there. So you're getting charged. You pay GoFundMe. Now, you don't necessarily get taxed, but the IRS can find different types of ways of that. If you have a donation over 20,000 or over 200 people that have donated, you have to fill out a 1099-K.
Right.
So like, you don't want to take that
Yeah,
chance.
they don't get a couple of dollars off that.
Right. That you know, the IRS could, depending upon how it was written, how it was donated, they could come for their money. And why would you want to do that when, guess what? Life insurance is tax-free. You never, ever pay taxes on life insurance. Another great thing about life insurance, when you're working with a funeral home and they know you have a policy, they will continue to do their work because they know you got a policy. They know they're going to get paid. And with life insurance, it typically like does take 10 to 30 days. If you have an agent like myself, like I am dedicated to, I'm not just going to write you up a policy and say, oh, see you later, I'm out of here. No, I'm with you throughout that whole entire thing. God forbid the day you die, your family, I want them to call me, and I'm going to contact the life insurance company I put you through and expedite getting that money to you as quick as possible and take that stress off of you. Nobody wants to, it's bad enough when you have somebody that dies. I'm no stranger to death, unfortunately.
Right.
And I've lost my dad. My dad died 5 years ago, and that was very hard. And on top of everything else, trust me, you don't want to deal with the financial burden too. You don't want to leave that to your family. People always talk about one of my biggest arguments. I'm not going to be here. I don't care. That's such a selfish comment.
Yeah, I've heard people say that, and
that is
what?
so selfish.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, it's one way of looking at it. What got you into this line of work? I mean, I noticed that you mentioned that you lost your father, and so I haven't had a loss that that major aside from my sister and my grandmother. But what is the loss of your father something that gave you an example of what to look at as far as the life insurance?
So when I'm sitting here telling you you don't want to deal with the financial burden on top of that, it's because I did, and I still do. Love my father, but my father, like a lot of people, misconceptions. I remember him being in hospice and telling my mom, Debbie, trust me, when I die, you'll be well taken care of. Everything's good. It's downstairs in the box. And of course, she's not going to go check. And by that time, it's too late anyway. But, lo and behold, he dies, and he worked for a company for 30 plus years. And when he retired, guess what? That policy from work retired with him. So he had a policy to get him cremated, but my mother was still left with the mortgage, still left with other things that, she's had to deal with in the last 5 years, us as a family have had to deal with. And that shouldn't have taken place. Like a lot of people think, oh, I got life insurance through my job, I'm good. No, it's like a company car. When you leave, you got to turn that in. And it sucks. But a lot of people don't realize that. So that was one of the big things. Like when it came down to me deciding to change careers, I wanted to get into a career where I could do what I was doing in the hospital. Like I love taking care of my patients. And now I get to take care of my clients. I get to help them prepare for a hard situation and be there and be compassionate and walk them through it, educate them and help them out and make sure that they don't ever have to go through what I went through with my dad.
So is there a policy that, and I guess you don't have to name the policy per se, but I mean, is there a policy that could have made what you and your mom experienced with the passing of your father easier?
Oh my God. Yeah. Any whole life policy, or even if he had a term policy, but he was 68. So you have a whole life policy that's with you for the rest of your life, which he did. He had a small one. It was a small one. it was $10,000. That's nothing. Like, let me tell you, the average to get cremated, just to get cremated, no type of service, that's like 3 to 5. Cremated with the service is like
3,000 to 5,000.
Yeah, 3 to
Okay.
5,000. Cremated with the service is like 5 to 7,000. You want to start burying in a coffin and going all out, you can spend onwards of up to $20,000, and that's talking now. So you want to think about how prices are going to go up in the future because everything goes up.
Everything goes up. Yeah.
But
Definitely.
you want to have something in place to take that off. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to life insurance, big time. Like a lot of times people either think they won't get approved or they can't afford it, or they don't need it now because they're young. When the truth is, the younger you are, the healthier you are, the better policy that you can get in place for you. And life insurance just isn't a death. Like life insurance is meant to be used while being alive. There are different riders, like a living benefit rider, meaning if you become sick, terminally ill, critically ill, chronically ill, you can take up to 80% off and live off of it.
Well, what if someone is sick right now, right?
Okay.
Because I think when some people say that they can't afford it or they wouldn't get approved, they feel like maybe they have an ailment, and maybe y'all would, not approve them based on their physical condition at the moment. Like, is that a thing?
That is a thing. But like I said in the beginning, I work with several different companies. So I am able to get pretty much anybody a policy. It might not be the fancy policies that you see about on TikTok and everything, but if you have, if you have a serious condition, like cancer or kidney disease or even AIDS, I can get you a policy. Wow. And you can get, you can get a decent amount that will take care of your burial and possibly leave anything behind. Like you can get approved. And if you ever gotten denied before, I'm a different type of agent where, so let me rewind here. I don't do health exams. I don't do I can do a fully underwritten policy, but I usually do ones that are not. They're done off of your medical index bureau, meaning they take your social security number and they use that off of anything you've been diagnosed or any medications that you're taking. So, say for instance, something comes back and you got denied from there. A lot of people will walk away from that, won't look into that. No, I'm going to help you through that step where let's pull your report. Let's see what you got denied, because guess what? Diamond, have you ever had to go in and get like a CT scan or an MRI?
I have not.
Okay. Well, that didn't help there. But okay, so say you did.
But I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people that have.
So a lot of times, in order to get that approved from your health insurance, you have to put in certain diagnosis codes, and those codes go in. But a lot of times the doctors don't come back and say, hey, well, this patient doesn't have, I'll just throw lupus out there, or they don't have, a heart condition, but we needed to get this. So what you do is, if that's the case and you've never been diagnosed that, and that, all we have to do is go back to your doctor. They write a letter. We go to the MIB. We get that off of there. And then guess what? I can get you approved for a good policy. If it's the other end where you are sick and you do have cancer, I can get you approved for a policy there too.
Come on.
Right. Like you've never had a CT or
no,
MRI?
I never had a no. Okay, so that I understand that, and that part is is something that I can digest, right? So okay. I think that another objection that that folks would have would be how much. Like, how much do they have to pay? Is this a sliding scale based on their income? Is this like how much money will we be talking about?
Well, I'm not going to sit there and like sell you a policy that's going to hurt your pockets. Right. My main concern is I'm going to look at your age, I'm going to look at your health, and then I'm going to ask you what your budget is and what can you afford. Because believe it or not, like I said, the younger you are, or even in your 50s, it's affordable. And we can always start off with a certain amount. And then when situations get better with you, we can increase that amount. But it's definitely a sliding scale. It depends on your age. It depends on your health. It depends on if you're a smoker or not, too. And male or female. Believe it or not, males are considered more high risk.
But you said males are considered more high risk?
Yes.
All right. So Casey Knox says, can you explain the difference between life and term?
Absolutely. So a typical regular term policy is just that. It's a death benefit. You can get it for 10, 20, 30 years. There are other certain term policies, which I prefer to do, like a CBO, which is a cashback offer, meaning like you get this term policy for 30 years. 30 years down the line, you never use it. You get everything that you paid into it back tax-free. So it's like you never paid for life insurance. And that's great too, because that's not just a death benefit. It has the living benefit on there, which she came late to the show. That's if you become sick, chronically ill, critically ill, terminally ill, you can take 80% out, as well as like accidental death riders. So I like a CBO term policy. A life policy is your whole life. So that builds cash value that's with you until your whole life until you die. So there's no end. Both of these policies that I do are locked in rates. They never go up. They never increase your monthly payments. Some terms do. You got to be really careful. Like my terms that I do with people, I make sure that their term policies don't go up. Like you see these commercials on TV. It sounds too good to be true. It's too good to be true because they're going to increase and they're going to increase rapidly. Yeah. And so that's a different, and then you have an IUL, which is my favorite policy. And I can get into that later, but I really love index universal lives, which they're great. That's my favorite. So we can touch on that in a little bit.
Okay. So, so you're saying, so term is what it says. It is a certain amount of a start and stop time.
Yes.
There is that, and then life is the entire life of the person. So let's just say a person is in their 20s when they pass. They have to have had the policy for a certain amount of time before. No.
Say I write you a policy today and you die tomorrow, it pays out.
Okay. And then versus, let's say somebody's had the policy, they pass in they've had it for 50 years and they're in their 90s, and so that person would get the same payout as the person who was in their 20s?
Yes. Depending on what the policy is. Like if they're in their 90s and it's not a term and it's a whole life and they're still in that policy, absolutely, they get that face amount of that policy. Okay. Same as that. So say you had we'll put it into numbers for people. Say you had a whole life policy for $25,000 for both people. Say the kid in his 20s, he got it, died a week later, he gets that $25,000. The person who's 90 that's had it for years, they get that $25,000. That's with a whole life policy. When we get into talking about IULs, that's very different, because an IUL is something that you can take and you can overpay it and you can watch your money grow exponentially because it's backed off the S&P 500. So they're investing that money. So your cash value builds. But if you're doing an increasing death benefit, you can get your death benefit to increase too. It's all in how the policy is written. That's why there's like not one set policy for everybody. I take my time, I sit down, I talk, I see what you want. If that's something that we do, we structure that policy for you. And that allows you to build tax-free retirement money. You see how life insurance is just not for death. It can definitely be for life too. Because you can take loans out on that. You can take loans out on it.
Yeah, I don't think the average person knows that. Yeah, I don't think the average person knows that. So so going back to your scenario with your dad and with your mom and you, how could a policy be structured to make things easier, for the family after the initial burial? Like, so that cost a lot of money, right?
Yeah. I mean, we made it work. What could have been done in the case of my father is, while yes, having a $50,000 policy through your work is great, he should have had a $50,000 policy on his own too. If he would have died during the time that he was working, he would have got 100,000. Great. But the fact that after he died, after he was working and he didn't get that 50,000, That's the difference there. So you want to have a policy on your own, no matter what your job is offering you. That's just a added benefit.
Yeah, no, I understand that. So Casey says that if you take the loan out, do you have to pay it back?
You should, yes.
Yeah,
You would want to pay it back,
you definitely.
because that's going to take away from your death benefit. So you want to put that money back in there.
Right. Okay.
And
All
it's
right.
at a two. It's dependent on when you take it out. It's at two. It's either between 2 and 4%.
So what city are you in?
I am well right now. I'm in Edgewater, New Jersey,
Okay.
but I am licensed, and I'm licensed in a lot of states, and that licensing doesn't matter to me. If there's somebody out there that's listening that's in a state that I'm not licensed in, that's not a problem. So I can pretty much work in all 50 states in the United States.
Okay, that's good to know because we have listeners throughout. So let's say someone, so you're in New Jersey. Let's say somebody is in Maryland, or someone's in Georgia, or someone's in Texas.
Yes.
You could still help them.
Yeah, and I'm actually licensed in all of those right
Oh,
now. So
okay, all right,
that kind of works. How funny is that?
all right. How has this? So you were in the healthcare field. How has this differed from the work that you did there? Is it just as rewarding? Is it on a different level? Is it what is that
um,
rewarding for you personally? As you helping people?
rewarding for me personally. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of a amicable way to answer this without saying, but no, it's much more rewarding for me. It's personal for me because I get to build relationships. I get to work on my own. I make my own hours. I can devote as much time as I want to one client.
Right.
I can travel freely. I really love what I do. I'm really passionate about what I do because I feel like the world needs to be educated. We are not educated on this. They don't teach us about life insurance. They don't teach us about tax-free money. Why would they?
Well, that is true. They don't. This is not something that comes up. There's not a class or a course that I remember in high school or
No.
college that talked about this. You had to figure this out.
Yeah.
And usually your
Like,
parents didn't really know a lot about it either. You know what I mean? So
you will be surprised at how many people that I run into that are in their 50s and 60s and that are not aware of the benefits of life insurance. There's a huge, because I know we're getting down to time. There's a huge one that I do want to touch on, and that's children. Like, you can set your children up that they never have to worry about life insurance. Like, you could get your child an IUL, like I was talking about, or you could get them a whole life policy. And the things that I like about like how I can set up for a whole life policy for a child is that you only pay into it for 10 years. After 10 years, it's paid off. But this child gets a guaranteed insurance eligibility rider. Now, what that means is that your child's healthy, and I'm not wishing this on anybody's child, but say 30 years down the line, unfortunately, they get cancer. They can still increase their policy. They can increase their policy up to either 5 or 6 times. And that's based off of, say they originally got a $25,000 policy, they can increase it in $25,000 policies, no matter what their health, no matter where their health is. And that's huge. That's setting your child up to have this money available. And then you could do the IUL like I was talking about, and that's really setting them up. But we got to take care of our children now. And this is beyond getting them, like when my child was young, it was the Gerber. And then when they turned 18, it went up. No, that policy premium amount stays the same, and they are guaranteed insured for the rest of their life.
wow. So that is really good information. How can folks find out more if they want you to help them with the plan? Like how can folks get Angela Roberts to help them with their life insurance questions?
So I am giving out my number. My number is available to everybody. Should I give it out now?
That's how you feel? Okay, that's what's up.
That's how I feel. I mean, I'm a businesswoman, so like, yeah, my
Absolutely.
phone
Yep.
rings off the hook anyway. So why not add to it? I can be reached at my personal number, which is 443-846-4286. And you can also email me, and that's at aroberts at FLL. aroberts at FFLALL.com. Had to think about that for a second. So again, that's aroberts at FFLALL.com. Give me a call or shoot me an email. We can set up a time, sit down and talk. It takes me about 20 minutes, maybe 30, depending upon what your situation is, to be able to find a policy that suits your needs and your budget. Like, I want people to be able to afford this. I want you to be able to take care of this every month. And to give you a range, like if you spend $5 on a coffee every day, because coffees are what, $5 to $10. If you gave up that coffee, you could get a very good life insurance policy.
Again, what's your number again?
443-846-4286.
So they frequently will say for the price of a cup of coffee, but that's like a legit thing.
That is a legit thing. That is a very legit thing. Like, yeah, like I said, it depends on your age, it depends on your health, but you can get a policy under $100, and depending upon which one you go into and where you are at, you can. I don't want to like make promises, but like the younger you are, you can get a $200,000-$300,000 policy for $100. That's if you're young. If you're older, you know what I mean? You can still get a decent policy for $100. You could get a decent policy for $50. Whatever your budget is, it's allow me to help you figure it out. And I mean, like help me help you. One other thing, like I just want to, people don't realize, and this is not to be grim or sad or make people feel bad, but when you die, your children and your loved ones are left with liabilities, mortgages, car notes, other debts that they can't pay. And if they can't pay, that bank takes that away. If you have a house that has a significant amount of equity in it, that's all gone. All because you didn't take the time to prepare for something that's scary. It is a scary feeling. It's a scary feeling, but yet people ignore it like it's just going to go away, and it's going to happen. It's sad. Look at what we just had over the weekend in Baltimore. How many of those families prepared for that to happen? You don't prepare for violent and trauma to happen and death to happen like that. You think death happens in old age, but in this day and age, it does. It's a part of life, and we should prepare for it and make sure that you are in a situation where you don't have to worry about that. So you can stop thinking about it. Just think about it for like 20 to 30 minutes with me. You don't got to think about it anymore because you're going to be set.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. And but like you said, most people are not, thinking that this is something that I'm going to have to deal with anytime soon.
Right.
But yeah, we had a very violent weekend in the Baltimore metro area. And
so sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is.
Absolutely.
And families shouldn't have to be burdened with financial difficulties on top of losing people. You know what I mean? Especially the violence. It's sad. And then the violence has to stop. But if the violence isn't going to stop, I say be prepared. Always be prepared. Be prepared for the worst case scenario, as sad as that may be.
Yeah.
And I try to keep it light. I try to keep it happy. I try to make these hard conversations a little bit easier. And like I said, for people that missed in the beginning, like I am going to be your agent from the beginning to end. I'm going to help you out. I'm dedicated to that. I'm not somebody that you're just going to talk to once. I'm somebody that's going to be in your life.
Right. Yeah, that's important. And you have the personality that makes conversations like this a little bit easier. You know what I mean? So that's helpful as well.
Yeah.
Death
isn't final. I trust me. I smile and everything. Death hurts. I still miss my dad. It's not final. Energy doesn't die. but it's a part of life. It's a different relationship that you have with your loved ones that are no longer here, but they are always
Right.
around us. I always tell people to look into nature and you'll find your loved ones talking back to you. That's what gets me by.
Well, yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Thank you so much, Angela Roberts. And folks can contact you 443-846-4286, A Roberts at fflall.com. For those
Yes, and
that are listening.
also if this is something that you would want to do in your life and you can do it part-time or full-time, you can call me about that too. We can talk about that opportunity as well. Like I'm available 7 days a week. You can
Okay,
always
all right.
contact me.
That's
All
what's up.
right.
And you
Thank
said that you are in multiple states. So wherever folks
multiple
are listening
wherever.
in the continental US, you can help them out.
Absolutely.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much.
Diamond, thank you. I really appreciate you. It was great to see you and talk to you. It's
Yes,
been
yes.
years.
It has been a long time. It has been a long
So
time.
again, thank you for this opportunity for having me on your platform and keep on doing the things that you do. I'm super proud of everything that you've done.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Proud of you as well.
Oh, thanks.
All right. That was Angela Roberts talking about the very important topic of life insurance and making things easier for your loved ones in the event that you pass away. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with more of the show after this.
It's the Diamond K Show.
So much going on in the world. You talk about things from the perspective of how it is. DJ Diamond K, sometimes it comes off like you are almost not in support of, but you just accept the way things are and there's no chance of change. Check me out on YouTube. That's the part that I am just like, ah.
OnFireTV.com.
Today's broadcast was brought to you in part by City View Bar and Grill. City View is a family-friendly, casual dining bar and restaurant, providing high-quality food and good old-fashioned friendly service. At City View Bar and Grill, you can live every hour like it's happy hour. The food is mouth-watering, the atmosphere is fun, energetic, and mature. Located at 6700 Security Boulevard in Gwynn Oak, Maryland, a.k.a. Woodlawn, it is the City View Bar and Grill. Stop in today or visit cityviewmd.com. That's cityviewmd.com. The 2022 Baltimore Crown Awards goes down Saturday, November the 19th at the Garage, 6 Lafayette Avenue in Baltimore. This year's celebration is an Emerald Party. There is a dress code. It's emerald green, and that is to celebrate the 16-year anniversary of the Baltimore scene movement. Please come dressed in the theme and the color for a visual unity that reflects the theme for the evening. It's hosted by comedian Desi Alexander. You can cast your votes right now. Visit thebaltimorescene.org. We'll see you Saturday, November the 19th, 2022, for the Baltimore Crown Awards. Welcome back. You made Diamond K in here, of course. DiamondKShow.com, onfire-tv.com, radioonfire.com, the WRF radio app. And wow, we had another violent weekend over the just the Baltimore metro area. There were murders in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County. 7 people who were shot survived in Baltimore City, thankfully. Yesterday, 3 people are recovering in the hospital after a triple shooting in the Brooklyn area in South Baltimore. Investigators said that 2 men and a woman were shot on 5th Street. They were all taken to the hospital. Police did not say if the victims were connected. The Anne Arundel County Police are investigating a double shooting in Odenton that left a man dead. Police described the incident as targeted. It occurred Sunday, 2:15-ish a.m., Annapolis Road in Odenton. No word yet on the other victim. Police said that they're investigating a shooting that left a man dead in the Lansdowne area Sunday morning. Just a lot going on. Baltimore County's homicide unit responded and to that Lansdowne area. They found a man suffering from a gunshot wound. He was transported to an area hospital and later died. Yeah, so what is going on? like definitely Casey Knox says we need solutions. We do need solutions. A lot of this is conflict resolution. Not all of it, but a lot of it is. And this is not something that we can solve by opening up the more rec centers. That's the go-to thing. They need more rec centers. We got yes, we had more rec centers when I was a young lad, right? But I don't think that rec centers are going to solve this issue of violence. Now, I do want to say this. There has been a spike in violent crime around the country. It is not just here. But yeah, so it's not just here. It is all over the country. But when we talk about Baltimore, you know what I mean? We talk about Baltimore, and it is a repeat thing. Casey says no thoughts and prayers. What do you mean by that? You mean no, don't say thoughts and prayers, or thoughts and prayers are not alone going to solve the problem? That's what you mean. I definitely agree with that. Thoughts and prayers alone not going to solve the problem. Not going to solve the problem. I mean, because the thing is that the problems are so deep, and there are many problems. It is not just a one problem, challenge. Officers in the fatal Essex shooting will not be prosecuted. Baltimore County police officers who fatally shot a man that approached them with a knife in Essex will not face prosecution, according to a report that was released today. Police, if you remember this story, police said that they responded to a home at 4 p.m. The 900 block of Boundbrook Way back in May the 4th. And there was a report of a domestic disturbance. Upon arrival, officers learned that Richard we'll leave his last name off, right? Richard was throwing items at a family member and held a knife to that family member and himself. Once inside the home, police said that they were speaking to Richard when he picked up a knife and began approaching the officers. When he did not comply with the police commands to drop the knife, one officer deployed his stun gun, and the other officers fired their guns, striking him. Police rendered aid until paramedics arrived, but he was later pronounced dead at the scene. The Attorney General Office of Independent Investigations Division said that it conducted an investigation last month, August 23rd to be exact, and sent its report to the Baltimore County State's Attorney's Office on the 30th of August. On September 8th, the prosecutor's office informed the Independent Investigation Division that it was not going to prosecute that case. So Casey says that one thing for certain, parents need to start parenting. Yeah, that is something. Here's what's tricky about that, right? Parents need to start parenting. And then let's say that your child, when a child is not in sight of the parent, these kids have been raised to, in many instances, not listen to other adults. So when I was young, even if it wasn't our parents and other adults were in the vicinity and saw us, messing up, being disrespectful, they could correct us. And we would listen. We would respect other adults. Like, okay, like straighten up. It's like, yeah, that's somebody's mother right there. That kind of thing. Now it's kind of like, you ain't my mother, you ain't my father, you can't tell me nothing, that kind of thing. And this attitude has really just spread. So we have kids, young ones, I'm talking about kids, juveniles, that they're only going to listen to their parents if they listen to them. Right? They may not even listen to them. If they say something that they don't like, the parent says something they don't like. So we have this whole culture. Back in the day, me and my friends, I lived on Bernice Avenue, where I grew up. I lived the third house from the corner. Now, the lady on the corner, Miss Elizabeth, she has since passed on, but she was one of those ladies where as though you couldn't just stand in front of her house and just be talking and making noise. You coming outside like, you're from in front of my house kind of thing. And we'd be like, oh, she's outside, whatever. We wasn't talking to her crazy when she told us get from in front of her house, right? Because we like to stand, near the corner part. And so she's not move that in front of your house, right? Okay, that's fine. And then, of course, my mother didn't want us standing in front of my house either. So then we would go to the field or walk around the neighborhood or go to the basketball court, whatever. My point is that Miss Elizabeth on the corner of Bernice would tell people don't stand in front. And she had a big house, so she had like a big gate, and like people would like to lean on the gate and all that kind of stuff. And nobody talked crazy to her. Even the street. The street fellas in the neighborhood, everybody respected her. And there were others. She ain't the only, older folk in the neighborhood that was telling kids what to do. But my point is that we listened and respected older people. And for some, I don't know where it happened at, but along the way, adults started to not be respected. And parents, it was parents that was telling them, you ain't got to listen to them. I'm your mother, that kind of thing. Let me have disrespected an adult and my parents found out about it. It wasn't my parents that got disrespected. They just heard about it. I would be in trouble, right? I'm feeling crazy just thinking about doing it. What would have happened to me back in the day? These kids now don't have that fear. So we need to have this meeting of the minds with parents, adults, and then, so now an adult can see some kids messing up in the street, some young kids, right? Just getting off the school bus, just messing around. And they're scared to almost correct them because of what the backlash could be. What is this kid going to say back? What, that kind of thing. And Drew Bean says today she getting cussed out. You're absolutely right. Today, Miss Elizabeth would get cussed out. She would get cussed out. And the parents of the child now, they would co-sign it. Yeah, don't be talking to my kid. Don't be saying nothing to my child. And then these children grow up and then they become adults. And then their behavior is crazy, right? They often say it takes a village. And that is a true story. It takes a village. You're not going to always be in the presence of your kids. So who's going to help you? If you tie the hands of the other village members, then a child is going to grow up that is a deviant. So all of these kids that are rowdy, not behaved, a lot of it could have been corrected if the parents allow correction from other adults. When they go to school, it's the same thing. When they go to school. Yeah, and you hear me talking about the way the school system is structured here in Baltimore. But I'm just saying that a lot of times the teachers can't correct the students in the way that they need to be corrected. Once again, I got to go back. When I was in school, teachers could correct us. I got in trouble a whole bunch of times. Just dumb stuff. Not like real bad stuff. Just this dumb stuff. Mischievous, regular kid stuff, right? And if a teacher pulled me up, a teacher said something, we listened. We weren't cussing the teacher out. It wasn't like that. But that has been lost. We got to get that back. Because if we don't get that back, we are literally just running in place. We're running in place because the next generation that's coming up now, though, we got to focus on them. We really have to focus on them, and there has to be some type of a concerted effort here. Casey says, and so we have violence in the streets and children being played to rest, and parents crying and setting up GoFundMe. Yes, all of this stuff happens. All of this stuff happens. That's why I wanted to bring Angela Roberts on to talk about life insurance, because in a lot, we're not preparing. We're not preparing the kids for life. We're not preparing the kids that sometimes things not gonna go your way. We're not preparing the kids to listen to authority. We're not preparing the kids financially, mentally, none of that. We just sit them in front of a computer or giving them a tablet or giving them a cell phone, and we just sit them down, and they literally are just on their own. Whatever they can scroll and find, and whatever their dumb friends tell them, that's, in a lot of instances, that's where the information is coming from. That's where the information is coming from. Sad state of affairs. Sad state of affairs. In Northeast Baltimore, 2 men and a 15-year-old boy shot. Northeast Baltimore. It's just on and on. And I don't even read all of the stories on the show, because it's just like it just gets sad. But 2 men and a teenager shot yesterday afternoon. Police say that they responded to the 1800 block of East 28th Street to investigate a shot spotter alert for gunfire. Yesterday afternoon around 3 p.m., officers arrived and found 2 men ages 23, 25, and 15, a 15-year-old boy, suffering from non-life-threatening injuries. They were taken to a hospital for treatment. So, it is wild. Carl says that these little monsters are out of control. Sons of Pookie coming of age. Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, it is Sons of Pookie. That's an interesting way to refer to it. It's just like you were saying, they were already the Pookie is just like like a, I don't know, it's like some hood, right? And then these are the kids of him. So they gonna be hood, right? Is what he's saying. That they gonna be hood. And that's what we are dealing with in Baltimore, throughout Baltimore and throughout all cities. Like I said earlier, it's not just here in Baltimore that we are facing an uptick in crime. It's not just here in Baltimore that we have folks that are out of control. It's not just here in Baltimore that we have parents that are raising kids that don't listen to authority, that don't listen to adults. And then many times these parents are rewarding this refusal to listen. You can't correct. So they're lines, right? I understand they're lines, right? I just started dating some girl 2 weeks ago. I ain't gonna come in a house and start correcting her kid, right? But what if I see the little kid get ready to fall down a flight of steps? Do I say something, or do I let the kid take the tumble? I'm gonna say something, right? But it depends on how you say it and all that kind of stuff, right? But so you definitely, because if I don't say anything and the little kid falls down the steps, and she said, "Well, you let my kid fall down the steps," I said, well, "I ain't his daddy." You know what I mean? Right? You look at me like I'm crazy, right? You look at me like I'm crazy. Carl says, "Bro, I'm in Houston. It's the same everywhere, bro." And you're absolutely right. It is not just here in Baltimore. Sadly, it's not just in Houston. But I follow stories in Houston, and there has been a lot of violence in Houston as well. And it is a mindset. It's a generational mindset that we are battling right now. It's a generational mindset. Some folks were actually abused as children, right? Some people got corrected, and my generation was mine. I guess the last generation that got what they used to call a beating, a whooping, right? I think maybe I'm the last generation of that while it was still in vogue. Then it now getting a child getting corrective punishment, I guess, is out of style. It is frowned upon. But whatever is necessary to have your child fear what you're saying, whether you had to put your hands on them or whether you could get them with the look or you can raise your voice, whatever it is, you need to have control over your kids. Your kids need to have some fear. You remember that fear? Wait till your father get home, or if your father wasn't present, whoever that disciplinary person was in your family, there had to be some type of fear in order to establish control. And then you get them in a certain type of behavior that they are following a certain kind of behavior, and then they know how to act even when you're not there. But it's training. You got to train the kids. If we don't train the kids, then that means that they are untrained. And untrained kids. We have a whole lot of untrained kids who have become adults in society messing things up. That's what we got. We got a whole bunch of kids that was put on timeout when they was messing up, and now they're adults. But it ain't no timeout. Some instances it might be lights out, but it's no timeout. So they just wilding. And that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with, and it's crazy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Of course, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show, on fire-tv.com. We're going to do this. We'll take a quick break, and then we are going to come back with more of the show after this. Today's broadcast was brought to you in part by City View Bar and Grill. City View is a family-friendly casual dining bar and restaurant providing high-quality food and good old-fashioned friendly service. At City View Bar and Grill, you can live every hour like it's happy hour. The food is mouth-watering, the atmosphere is fun, energetic, and mature. Located at 6700 Security Boulevard in Gwynn Oak, Maryland, aka Woodlawn, it is the City View Bar and Grill. Stop in today or visit cityviewmd.com. That's cityviewmd.com. The 2022 Baltimore Crown Awards goes down Saturday, November the 19th at the Garage, 6 Lafayette Avenue in Baltimore. This year's celebration is an Emerald Party. There is a dress code. It's emerald green, and that is to celebrate the 16-year anniversary of the Baltimore scene movement. Please come dressed in the theme and the color for a visual unity that reflects the theme for the evening. It's hosted by comedian Desi Alexander. You can cast your votes right now. Visit thebaltimorescene.org. We'll see you Saturday, November the 19th, 2022, for the Baltimore Crown Awards. Welcome back. Your man Diamond K in here. So the House committee that is investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol announced today that it has postponed a hearing which was scheduled for tomorrow as a hurricane hurtles towards the Florida coast. So they're going to be in D.C., but I guess they're saying that the eyes of the country are going to be focused on Florida, and they don't want to take away from that. So the committee had planned to hold what was likely going to be its final investigative hearing. So it wasn't going to be the closeout. This is their final investigative hearing, whatever that means. But members decided at the last minute to delay it as it became clear that the hurricane Ian was on a collision course towards Florida, where it is expected to strengthen to a catastrophic Category 4 storm. So we're praying for the safety for all those that are in the storm's path. The select committee's investigation goes forward, and they're going to announce a date soon. I'm sure that the fact that a former member has written a book and is releasing a book also has something to do with them, postponing the date. The committee has not yet provided an agenda for the hearing. But Adam Schiff, Democrat of California, said over the weekend that it was going to tell a different story about a key element of Donald Trump's plot to overturn the election. So this weekend's hearing was intended to close the series of public hearings. The 9-member panel started back in early June. So now we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. Going to have to wait a little bit longer. If you thought it was over, but it is not over, not by a long shot. And I think that's a great segue. Speaking of long shots, so we have the election fast approaching, the general election, and the battle for control of the Senate has intensified. Who's going to have control? We don't know. But just a few months ago, if you think back, Republicans were talking greasy. They had been favored to win the majority in the Senate. But now it is 40-some days until the midterms. The chances of Republicans winning the upper chamber, it's as tight as ever. Maybe they're going to get it. Maybe they are not. How many seats do Republicans need to win to control the Senate? Just one. What battleground races are starting to lean from Republicans' favor? Arizona and New Hampshire. Which battleground states are most likely to go in Republican favor? I don't know. It's a toss-up. So Nevada, the incumbent senator there, and Georgia, Raphael Warnock, are both vulnerable. Now, they're not running against the best opponents, but they are both vulnerable. Now, which areas have changed the momentum a little more in Democrats' favor? The Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade, the abortion rights, former President Donald Trump being back in the news. Now, I guess he never really left the news. The dynamics of the candidates in each of these races, all of this has played a part in the momentum shifting. There are 7 Senate seats most likely to flip: Pennsylvania, Nevada, Georgia, Wisconsin, Ohio, North Carolina, and Arizona. So with just 40 and some change days away, this midterm is going to be here before we know it. We're going to be talking about it, covering it, election night, looking forward to it, because I think we're going to see something that we have never seen before, which is the party that has the presidency maybe not having a total catastrophe. Right? There have been few times when it's happened, so this is not going to be a unicorn, but every time people think that they know what's going to happen, and then it changes again. So senators are pushing to reform police cell phone tracking tools. What am I talking about? Civil rights lawyer and Democratic senators are pushing for legislation that would limit U.S. law enforcement agencies' ability to buy cell phone tracking tools to follow people's whereabouts, including back years in time, and sometimes without a search warrant. There are many concerns about police use of the tool known as fog reveal. Fog reveal. Maybe you've heard of this, maybe you have not, but we're going to talk a little bit about this. So this fog reveal tool, which was raised in an investigation by the AP earlier this month, also surfaced in a Federal Trade Commission hearing a few weeks ago. Police agencies have been using this platform to search hundreds of billions of records gathered from 250 million mobile devices and hover up people's location, their geolocation data, to assemble what they're calling a pattern of life. Pattern of life. So sold by the Virginia-based Fog Data Science LLC, Fog Reveal has been used since at least 2018 in criminal investigations ranging from the murder of a nurse in Arkansas to tracing the movements of potential participants in the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. Now, the tool is rarely, if ever, mentioned in court records, something that defense attorneys say makes it harder for them to properly defend their clients in cases where the technology is used. So, police have been using this. And then when they are in court, they don't really want to talk about it. But of course, Americans are increasingly aware that their privacy is evaporating before their eyes. Evaporating. There are definitely real world implications, and they can be devastating. Today, companies that we've all heard of, as well as companies that you are completely unaware of, are collecting troves of data about where we go, what we do, and who we are. So we definitely are going to continue to follow this story. I'm sure that law enforcement have their reasons, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this, but the New York Police Department used Fog Reveal at its real-time crime center in 2018 and 2019. But as I said earlier, this has been used, but they don't always mention it, right? They don't always mention it I'm going to say for obvious reasons. For obvious reasons. Do you think that the law enforcement should be using this? Or are you completely fine with that? A lot of times folks will say that they're following their social media and they're finding they are following social media, but there are also other things that they are doing with regards to tracking the whereabouts of an individual. Just tune in, you listen to the Diamond K Show here at onfire-tv.com. So just take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. And this is real quick. Welcome back to the Diamond K Show. The Kremlin, Russia, paved the way today to annex more of Ukraine and escalate the war by claiming that residents of large areas overwhelmingly support joining with Russia in this sham, staged, managed referendum that the U.S. and its Western allies have dismissed as illegitimate. So what they did is they set up this fake election, and they're even going door to door asking folks. And if they get, this area that has been taken over by Russia, they say, you want to be Russia? Oh, yeah, you want to be Russian? All right, cool. This is Russia now, right? They're doing that. And it is really causing an uproar with regards to the West and its allies. I think that Russia is going to use this as a reason to further escalate things and really take it to the next level. According to Russia, the election, 93% of the ballots cast in the region support being a part of Russia. Another area was 87%. Another area, it was 98%. Still another area, 99%. Wow. Right? Really? But that's what they're doing. That is what they're doing. This outcome was preordained. It's like a wrestling match. They already knew how this was going to go. But what's happened is that it's really set the stage for a very dangerous new phase in this 7-month war with the Kremlin now threatening to throw more troops into the battle and potentially use nuclear weapons. So the Biden administration is doing some tough talk. They say that you use some nuclear weapons and it's going to get real fast. And they said, what are you going to do? It's going to get real, right? But they're not saying what they're going to do, obviously. But Russia is saying that they could use nuclear weapons, and they're serious about it, and we're really, really mad. And it's a whole bunch of saber rattling. But I don't think that nuclear weapons are going to be used. Because here's the thing about nuclear weapons. All of the people that have nuclear weapons know all the other people that have nuclear weapons. So you can say you're going to use a nuclear weapon, and then you know that your opposition has a nuclear weapon. And once you take it there, you can't put it back in the bottle. All of these people that's doing this tough talk about nuclear weapons, they have families. And, if the hammer comes down, everybody's affected. Everybody's affected. So people talk about it, and it's used to keep folks in line. I don't think it's going to get to that point. I don't think that it is going to get to that point. We talked earlier about Hurricane Ian has struck Cuba. Florida is bracing for winds and floods. So Hurricane Ian tore into western Cuba as a major hurricane today and left 1 million people without electricity, and then churned on the collision course with Florida over the warm Gulf waters amid expectations it would strengthen to a catastrophic Category 4 storm. We said earlier we were just our thoughts and prayers, and I don't like to use that phrase, but we are definitely praying for our folks in Florida. Definitely, because this is at that time of year. It is that time of year, and I don't know. We talked about Dan Cox here in Maryland. Dan Cox, he is the Republican nominee, the Trump supporting nominee. He has set out to challenge the court mail-in ballot early counting decision. Why would he want the ballots counted early? No, he wants to have confusion and try to act like the election was stolen. But the gubernatorial candidate, Dan Cox, says he's going to challenge this ruling. Attorneys for Cox have said that they have filed a notice to appeal to challenge the Montgomery County Court ruling to allow mail-in ballots to be counted ahead of Election Day. So these are ballots that were mailed in, and Republicans like Dan Cox want them to just sit in the corner and just sit there. And then they want Election Day to happen. They want you to count the ballots that came in that day, and then they want you to count those ballots that have already been sitting there. No, it's like a first in, first out. These ballots were mailed in. We already got them. We should count them. We don't need to have no weeks and weeks or several days before we have the results to the election. But that is what election deniers want you to have, because they want to have confusion. They want this to be crazy. Cox has argued that the ruling was unconstitutional and that there is no actual emergency that called for ballots to be counted early. The reason why ballots are being counted early, Mr. Cox, is because there are going to be so many of them. People have gotten used to not going places and just mailing stuff in to avoid the crowds. So you can't have it both ways, right? Some people are going to buy their stuff online. Some people going to the mall. Dan Cox strikes me as somebody who just wants to go to the mall. Maybe he doesn't want to order from Amazon or online, right? So that's what his deal is. Do you think that ballots that are mailed in should be counted early if they're already there? I'd like to know your thoughts on that. I say that they should be. We need to speed this process up. We need to know the results of elections as close to the day that is Election Day as possible. If it was up to me, we would know everything that day, that night. Before you went to sleep that night, We need to know the results of election. This is 2022. We should not be waiting weeks and weeks to find out the result of an election. When we find out who won American Idol on the same day. You find out who won any of these other shows same day. We need to know who won. You want to have the integrity of the vote? We need to know the same day. Come on. What's really good? What is really good?
Visit OnFireTV.com for live top stories, breaking news, and original shows.
So I'm going to be back here tomorrow, of course, with more of the show. Tomorrow's edition, though, I will be in Cleveland. Okay, we'll be doing the show from Cleveland tomorrow. But I will be here nonetheless. DJDiamondK@gmail.com. You need to get in touch with me. And all shows are going to happen as normal. So don't be alarmed. Don't be alarmed. Music submissions, of course, booking info, DJDiamondK@gmail.com. Miss any episodes of the show on fire-tv.com/DiamondK. Of course, you can go on YouTube. Catch up on any of our shows on fire-tv.com/watch if you want to check us out live. But with that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow.
It's the Diamond K Show.
So much going on in the world. You talk about things from the perspective of how it is. DJ Diamond K, sometimes it comes off like you are almost not in support of, but you just accept the way things are and there's no chance of change. Check me out on YouTube. That's the part that I am just like,
OnFireTV.com.
She don't have no chill when it comes to me.
I don't have no chill on anyone. Let's be real.
You don't, but you get extra points by punching on me. That's just our relationship, but
He act like it's the Mario game, and when I say the coins is going up, no.
that's how I do coins. Listen, I don't care if we see each other at a funeral. She starts.
Me?
Immediately.
Immediately, soon as she see me. Why you wear this dirty uniform to a funeral?
And guess what? That sounds like her. She has no filter at all.
None.
He is lying. I might say don't touch me because he got on that.
You asked me why did I have that dirty uniform on at a funeral?
I don't remember that. Was that one of my uncles or what? Who? Cousin? Who was it?
Yeah, that was your uncle.
Well, then that's probably why. So anyway.
check out Swap Radio Thursdays, 7 p.m. at onfire-tv.com.
Visit OnFireTV.com for live top stories, breaking news, and original shows.
The defense wanted to call a forensic accountant. And this accountant is supposed to testify that Mosby's net worth declined by at least 30% in the spring of 2020 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, and the prosecution hates that. See, because here's my thing. Every business was affected by COVID, unless your business was to spread COVID. So the prosecution's like, oh, no, she's going to actually prove her case. We don't want this to happen. We don't want any testimony from this witness. So they didn't want the testimony. Of course, this at the core is her defense. Mosby had a travel-related business. The travel industry was impacted severely by COVID.
It's the Diamond K Show. Hear it on FireTV.com.